Like I've been saying night after night, a brand new far-left radicalism is now gripping the Socialist Democratic Party in this country. They want to abolish ICE, open borders, baseless smear jobs. The new left committed to destroying the president and his agenda, and in the process, that would mean your prosperity at all costs. That is not one of their priorities. Joining us now to talk about this and much more, I call him the Great One, the host of the #1 show Sunday nights, 10 Eastern here on Fox, Life, Liberty, and Levin. The Great One, thank me. Listen, we got a lot going on in this country. We got to rush to judgment. Look at BuzzFeed. We've got a push. Nancy Pelosi can't even sit down. She's so pulled to the left by her party. The president is given on DACA, on Dreamers, everything they said they wanted. They still won't sit down with him. Then you've got a lot of Democrats, and we'll see more during the presidential campaign, wanting 70% taxes and confiscation and redistribution of wealth. What do you make of it all?
Well, what a mess. Let me start with the media. Poll after poll, survey after survey shows that the media are liberal and Democrat. And they don't disappoint liberals and Democrats. We have a packed media with a groupthink mentality. And I wrote this down before I came here. There are no uniform binding standards among news outlets. No clear line between news and opinion. This is an opinion show. I give an opinion, you give an opinion. That's clear. But news is different, isn't it? No universal rules of professional conduct for journalists that apply to lawyers and doctors and electricians and plumbers and so forth. Nothing. No particular experience required. Chuck Todd, Chris Cuomo, Stephanopoulos, their experience are as Democrat hacks. No commitment to objectivity, and that's the bottom line. No commitment to truth-telling. The result is old-fashioned yellow journalism. Scandalous, sensational, intellectually corrupt. So what we have now is the fourth estate has become the fifth column. Mass media in this country, they were committed to Hillary Clinton's election. Now they're committed to ousting Donald Trump. Every single day. They're sloppy. They misreport. They don't care. They figure they'll throw out an apology if they must. They try to destroy the president, his family, anybody associated with him, his staff, Kavanaugh, anything. They have never treated liberal Democrats this way. I'll give you a perfect example. We want 10 years of Donald Trump's income taxes. Well, I want 10 years of the Pelosi's income taxes. They're multimillionaires. She's the Speaker of the House. No legislation or appropriation gets through without her. How come the media don't call for 10 years of hers? And how about Dianne Feinstein, all the investments that she and her husband have made in Red China? We don't have a China special counsel investigation to talk about collusion. And the media promote the progressive agenda, climate change, open borders, big government. And, of course, every millennial is supposed to be Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. I don't know any millennial that's a Marxist like she is. I know millennials who volunteered to serve in the military, who are police officers, who are firefighters, who are doing great things for this country. Every millennial is not a radical nut job going through the socialist talking points. Now, we got to get rid of these billionaires. I'm happy, Soros, Stars, and so forth, but let's talk the truth. It's the American dream, not the Soviet dream. John Rockefeller, we're supposed to hate him. Thanks to him, we have energy, natural gas, and oil. He became a multi-billionaire. So what? John Walton, we have Walmart, where people can get things at a decent price, and they employ tens of thousands of average Americans. Great. The family's worth billions. So what? Weyerhaeuser. You like toilet paper? You like writing paper? You can thank Weyerhaeuser. Bill Gates, lefty, Microsoft, revolutionized computers. Andrew Carnegie made the production of steel possible that we use today. Jeff Bezos, I'm no fan of this guy, but changed completely how we buy. Andrew Mellon financed the ability for us to have electricity in every home. Henry Ford, I can go on and on. Now, multi-billionaires. What has Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez created? Any job? Part-time job? How about Bernie Sanders? What have they created? So where's all this money going to go? 70% tax bracket. Who's going to decide who gets what? The Department of Agriculture? The Department of Energy? The EPA? These people waste $125 billion a year, according to the GAO. Americans do not like big, authoritarian, centralized government and 2 million bureaucrats pushing them around. So why do we confer health care upon them? And what does she know exactly? Nothing. Go to the supermarket. There's capitalism. 20 different types of bread. 30 different types of wine from all over the world. 5 different types of fish. I can't even tell what fish. Go to the supermarket. Look at all the different things you get. We live better than kings and queens lived 150 and 200 years ago. Look at all the things around you. That's created by capitalism. Capitalism and freedom, individualism, the American people. They're about government, power, edicts, fiats. That's what she's all about. And Ms. Ocasio Cortez, please come on my Fox show on Sunday. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about capitalism versus Marxism and socialism. I want to talk to you about some of your ideas. I know you go to these slobbering interviews and so forth. I promise to be respectful, have enough guts and enough intelligence, because my theory, Sean Hannity, is this. She is a media creation. That's all she is. And let some conservatives who will treat her with respect interview her. I would request an interview.
Great one. You better get it in the next 12 years, because she said the world is going to end. I wish you a lot of luck in that endeavor, and I'd love to see that interview. I think that was one of your finest monologues you've ever given on this show about what is the greatest economic system that has created more freedom, more opportunity, more wealth than anyone ever imagined. And we can compare it to those countries that have chosen the path some radicals now want to take us down. Great one. We'll watch Sunday night, 10 p.m., Life, Liberty, Levin. You don't want to miss it.
Meanwhile, President Trump going on offense, slamming his former attorney this morning after Michael Cohen postponed his congressional testimony because of threats, he says, to his family. The president tweeting this morning, quote, "So interesting that bad lawyer Michael Cohen, who sadly will not be testifying before Congress, is using the lawyer of crooked Hillary Clinton to represent him. Gee, how did that happen?" Remember July 4th weekend when crooked Hillary went before FBI and wasn't sworn in? No tape, nothing. Congressman Jim Jordan is ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. He joins us now. Congressman, thank you for coming on this morning. So
you bet, Senator.
That was the president's reaction to this, the postponement of this hearing. What's yours?
Well, if you look at the statement Mr. Davis, Mr. Cummings made, they talked about the threats, but then they also talked about ongoing investigations. My guess is it had a lot more to do, Michael Cohen's postponement had a lot more to do with that second part, the ongoing investigation aspect of this. Mr. Davis, when he talked to our attorneys on the committee, he told them he didn't check with the special counsel. He didn't check with the Southern District of New York. He didn't check with the Attorney General in the state of New York. He just worked this out with Cummings and got Cohen to come for this scheduled hearing. Now they're postponing it. My guess is that's because they've heard from the folks who have these ongoing investigations.
It's been indefinitely postponed. We don't know whether there will be any sort of subpoena type action, but I can tell you this was written in the New York Times this morning, talking about this putting Democrats in an awkward position. They write, quote, "They must decide whether to force Mr. Cohen to testify despite his concerns about security or walk away altogether from a hearing that they held out as the first marquee moment in their plan to showcase their aggressive oversight of Mr. Trump and his administration." Congressman.
I think that's exactly right. I think a couple things are in play, because if they do subpoena him, and they may, what will he answer? Well, because when you're subpoenaed, do you take the fifth? Do you answer something? How does that all work out? I think that's a concern that they have to deal with. Second is this. Maybe they got finally sensitive to this fact that the first big hearing they were doing, they were bringing a guy in to testify in front of Congress who in 5 weeks is going to prison for lying to Congress. Maybe at some point they actually understood, well, that may not be the best thing to do. So I don't know what Mr. Cummings is going to do. I don't know how this is going to work out. All I know is we're focused on getting the truth out. And if Mr. Cohen comes, we're going to be prepared to ask him the questions that we think the American people deserve answers to.
And, of course, we're talking about the very powerful House Oversight Committee, and there has been some progressives that have joined this committee, and I just wonder if you can sort of tell us what picture this paints for the next couple of years. Throw up on the screen there. We've got Alexandria Ocasio Cortez named to the House Oversight Committee. Congresswoman Tlaib, who has obviously been in the news quite a bit lately, added to that committee. What overall does this mean for investigations and more going forward?
Yeah, Senator, I mean, we'll see. This is a call for Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Cummings. They can put on the committee whoever they want. We welcome them to the committee. Again, as I said before, our focus is the truth. I think in the past I've been able to work sometimes with folks on the liberal side of the spectrum. There's obviously, a big difference between where the Freedom Caucus is and where the Progressive Caucus is. But typically on civil liberty type issues, we found common ground. We have a bill right now. Jamie Raskin, a member of the Progressive Caucus, liberal member from Maryland, and I have co-sponsored and worked on this legislation that would protect people like you, people in the press. When the FBI comes kicking on your door wanting you to divulge confidential sources, you shouldn't have to do that. It's called the First Amendment. It's called freedom of the press. And so on those type of issues, we can maybe come together and work on it. But obviously, there's a big difference between where the progressives are and where the Freedom Caucus is.
Meanwhile, the committee has already launched a new probe. It happened actually in during this program yesterday that we learned about this, into alleged grave breaches of national security in the security clearance process with the White House and the Trump transition team. Is this a sign that this committee is really going to ramp up Trump-focused investigations?
Yeah, as if we needed another sign. I mean, the Democrats are completely focused on halting and stopping the Trump administration, and not instead where I think they should be focused, which is on helping the country. I mean, think about the very first day. The first day of Congress, Brad Sherman introduces articles of impeachment. Later that same day, not even 24 hours on the job, we had the Congresswoman say the disgraceful things she said about the president. Then we have Nancy Pelosi, who will not even negotiate with the president on this whole immigration border security wall concern that we have right now. And of course, top it all off with Nancy Pelosi doesn't invite the commander-in-chief to give the State of the Union address. They are completely focused on stopping the president and not on helping the country. The Oversight Committee, I think, is just continuing that trend, which I think hurts the nation. But they're gonna do all these investigations. Again, our focus is going to be getting the truth to the American people, and that's what we'll stay solely focused on.
And of course, this particular investigation is seeking information on clearance issues involving a number of former but also current Trump administration officials. The reason why we were showing Jared Kushner there for a bit, because he is named specifically in this.
Again, this is how the Democrats are going to operate. The commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, has a right to have the people around him who he thinks is going to give him the insight and advice he needs. Let's work through this security clearance process. I think the administration has done that, but understand they are just so focused on stopping the president and not on helping the country. I think we're going to continue to see this. I hope that changes, but it certainly doesn't look like it's going to.
Congressman, I've got to leave it there. Just a couple seconds left. How does this shutdown story end? Couple votes taken up today.
If Nancy Pelosi would get focused on helping the country, we could get a solution. The president's offered one over the weekend. Let's sit down and actually negotiate and not play these games of not inviting the president to the State of the Union. Let's actually sit down and figure out how we can help the country and get a border security wall built.
Congressman Jim Jordan, on a very busy morning, we thank you.